Good evening. This is Gloria Taylor Brown, and this is a gathering of priestesses. This is the 56th edition of our show. We're delighted that you could be here with us this evening. We have with us this evening Miss Kathryn Ravenwood, Reverend Kathryn Ravenwood, Priestess of Water. And she's going to do some work with us on how to call in the directions, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First, I wanted to ask Kathryn a question, which basically for her, we're going to be more specific because, as you know, we generally begin by talking about how people became a priestess. In this case, we're going to ask her specifically how she became a water priestess.
Thank you. Hi, Gloria. It's great to be with you. Good evening, everyone. So how did I become a water priestess? I get my years mixed up, but it was, I think it was 98 when Hurricane Floyd ripped through North Carolina, which caused me to ask the question of how much pollution caused by this hurricane could the water tables handle. There were literally millions of corpses of chickens and pigs washed out from the factory farms into the beautiful rivers of North Carolina. Mm. The sludge farms where all the sewage was collected for the factory farms they were destroyed. So millions of gallons of sewage was flushed out, not to mention all the other debris and horrible stuff that the hurricane stirred up. So I was living in Seattle, walking around beautiful Green Lake, and I thought, well, how does this ever clear out? And a voice in my ear said, you could make a crystal homeopathic elixir that would heal the waters of Gaia. Okay, so I knew about homeopaths. I've been using homeopaths. I was a massage therapist, so I treated myself with several that really worked, that kept me going better. I knew about crystals. I didn't know what the two together meant. And so I started kind of looking around, asking around. Didn't really find any information back then. I was very new to the internet, and there was not as much volumes of information as there is now, of course. And I thought, well, if I'm supposed to do this, Spirit will guide me. Spirit told me to do it, so we'll see what happens. And that began my journey, which is now written and recorded in my book, How to Create Sacred Water, A Guide to Rituals and Practices. And eventually, Spirit led me through the process of creating a water altar. And I keep my water altar from full moon to full moon, and it's done with amethyst and selenite. And I would stir my prayers into the water, and then on the full moon go out, take it to some river, ocean, creek somewhere, and bless the waters. And so I've been doing this now for a long time. And at one point when I was doing ceremony, I was told by Spirit that I was a water priestess. So I'm not as active as some people. I'm not out there doing ceremonies on the internet. But, I don't have a big, huge group of people that I do all this with. I've always been kind of a solitary priestess. But that's what I do. That's how I became a water priestess. And now I live in the desert, and seems like being a water priestess here is more important than ever.
Well, I definitely think so, particularly as the Western states have had such an incredible drought for the last few years, and we don't know whether or not it's going to break or not. I mean, they're getting a lot of water back east, but out here in California, we're just hoping we make it through the next year. So, what would you recommend for people who want to do some of this work besides buying your book, which is obviously the first thing they have to do?
Well, my book does give step-by-steps on how to create an altar in general, and some rules around creating an altar and using smudge, things like this, and very specific instructions on how to make the water altar. However, that's just one way. That's the way Spirit gave it to me to do. I'm a Cancer born on the full moon, so I'm not surprised that I was told to go full moon to full moon with my ritual. And it can be most anything. I think the most important thing to do for anyone who wants to get involved with water is to pay more attention to your water. And that is, as you drink it, as you use it, to be completely aware of what it is. It's vital to our lives, of course. Many people take it for granted. And I'm surprised, even living in Albuquerque, where we're just coming out of multiple days of over 100 degrees and it's only June. That's very unusual for us. I'm surprised to go into people's homes, even here, and watch how much water they waste. They preparing food, they just dump water down the sink. They're not harvesting it. There's no catch bucket in their showers. There seems to be no awareness of that water is really so precious in these days to us. And I think the first thing to do is become aware of what you're using and how you're using it, and to become more grateful for the water. And then offer your prayers for it. We are given the gift of life as water, air, fire, earth, as the beautiful plants and animals, all the energy, all the beautiful things on this planet, each other, our very lives. And it is given to us, just given to us. And it is important for us to give back. It's very important to keep the loop of reciprocity going, because if you just take, after a while, there's no return energy, and the source begins to dry up. I also think that we're immensely globally out of harmony. We have been for hundreds of years on this planet, hundreds of years. And it's really showing up now, how badly we have desecrated and taken and abused our resources. And the water's going away, the fires are burning everything up, the air is polluted, the food is polluted. And so you have to wonder, what if we all started giving back more? And I think that's the responsibility of everyone. Everyone who wants to live and partake of water and food and air every day needs to be giving back. And it's as simple as a blessing. Thanking what you have, being grateful for what you have, intentionally and with great awareness.
I think that's a great idea. You know, one of the things I was thinking about, I stopped at a fast food place to grab something a couple of days ago. And I was watching a family that was sitting there eating, and the father weighed at least 400 pounds. And even the youngest child, who was about 3 years old, looked like he already weighed about 80 pounds. And I was watching them eat, and they were eating like they were starving to death. Mm-hmm. And there was no reverence for the food. There was no, I mean, they were eating good food, at least. I mean, it was Rubio's, you know, the fish.
Oh, I went to Rubio's. Oh.
But the point is that they were eating without tasting, without acknowledging that, you know, this is, and it was as though, like I said, you know, at their weight, they were not starving to death. And they obviously had plenty of time, because they ended up sitting there for another 30 or 45 minutes after they had eaten, and played on their telephones. Yeah. Not talking, of course. I mean, who talks to anybody at the table anymore? But it was just really interesting, and it made me think, you know, we don't revere our food. You know, whenever I was being brought up, my family, we always said a prayer before we ate. Whenever we meet in circle, we always do a spirit plate and we say a prayer. And it's, you know, I don't do that here, but maybe I need to. I mean, even whether I'm drinking a glass of water, just, thank you for the water I'm drinking. And thank you for thank you for the iced tea. Thank you, Arizona iced tea. Really
I'm the same way. I forget to bless my food. I forget too. We all forget.
Mm-hmm.
Although as you know, you've been to my home and you know I'm fanatic about water wasting. I wouldn't even let you run the water to peel an egg under it without getting upset. I mean, I harvest it all, and it goes outside on my plants, and the clear water goes on my inside plants, and I'm very careful with it. But I do forget, even me, the water priestess, I forget to offer the blessings because it's so easy not to. We're so busy, we're so stressed, we're just hurry. And to stop and be mindful of our lives is really what brings us into a place of being more in connection with spirit and with divinity. In whatever form spirit may want to talk to you. I've had people say to me, well, I want to do a water altar, but I can't do it your way. And I said, well, fine, do it your way. Do it however you want. This is a way that works, and I've done it this way for years, and I've gotten some pretty amazing spirit feedback experiences with it. And I know that for me, it works. And I believe that it helps the water. And maybe my small offering doesn't clean a whole river, but you never know. You don't know. And if somebody else is doing it and someone else, we don't really know collectively how much power we have and how much we might just be below that breaking point. But all of us think that, what difference does it make? But what is it, that 51%, they say? If you get over the 51%, things start changing exponentially faster. So you don't know what your small contribution can bring. You don't know if you put something in the river, how it flows downstream. It leaves your vision. You don't know what happens. So I think it's just important for us to remember. And, I forget too, as I said. And sometimes for those of us who live alone, we're not there to remind each other and say, hey, aren't you forgetting something?
Well, I know that, the Transcendental Meditation people say that if they can get, 1% of the population in a city to meditate, that it will change the energy of that city.
Really, 1%?
Yeah, and they've actually proven that in some of the towns in Massachusetts, and they've, of course, they have their university in Iowa, and have also done tests in India, where they originally came from, of course, but in Europe as well. But, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about some of the work that you've been doing, and I know that you've been doing this work with calling in the directions, and I know we're going to do a little exercise later on for you to show us how to call in the directions. But would you talk to us a little bit about your spiritual directions course?
I will, thank you. First of all, I just want to back up and say that I grew up in Wyoming, and as a child, I was very blessed because I could just go out and be gone all day. And that meant out on the wild prairies. And there was nothing out there, except huge skies, expanses of prairies. And it was such a blessing to me. So I always had kind of a concept of the space, more so than maybe people who grew up in a big city. But I never thought about it as something I needed to pay attention to. As I got older and started to growing up in Wyoming, there was a large native population there, and I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and there was huge prejudice there. And I read a lot about the tribes and about their histories, and found that I was, on their side. And that I started to understand by reading their work, this concept of the big circle of life, the big hoop of life. So that was great, and that was beautiful, and I really liked that. And as I started doing circle work with people, and they would call in the directions, honor each of the east, south, north, west, above, below, and center, I really liked that. It really resonated with me. And then one time I was in a class, and the person was just very simply calling in the directions, and I went out. I journeyed out into the directions. And That changed my life. It totally changed it. So now I have my altar room set up with altars in each direction, so that when I sit and pray and do my ceremonies, I'm sitting smack in the middle of the directions. And that is where we are. We are all the center of the universe. Each one of us, no matter where we stand, we are a complete circle, and we take in all of it. So we are at any moment the center of the universe. And that's very important to honor that energy and that life support that holds us in that place. And so in 2007, I taught a class in my home called Spiritual Directions, and I had 7 people sign up, and we met once a month in my home, and we were here almost all day for the class. And people said, why do we have to wait a month between class? Why can't we just do 2 a month? And I said, because when you call in the directions, you call in the guides of these directions, and you open the portals of each direction. And I'm talking about like if you open your front door. You're opening a doorway when you call these directions in. When you call them in and you're doing the work like we're doing, and you're learning the guides, the elements, the aspects of what these portals hold and who's out there, they come. And so you're going to need a month to process what happens with who shows up. And they didn't believe me. The second class, they're like, oh, we get it. We get it. We understand why we're waiting a month. And then they would tell me things that happened to them in the month. And it was all specific direction oriented, all of them. And many of them had similar experiences. I remember when we did the South, they came in the next month after we did the South Gate, and they were all complaining about the problems they've been having with their families, all of them. And I'm like, South Gate, there you go. So that started it. And then I wanted to present it again. I know lots of times we're preaching to the choir. Our friends know what we know. We've been through this for the last 20, 30 years, 40 years. We've been working on this. But there's a lot of really wonderful people out there who have not really had good training on this. And it's important for them to know. And I feel Spirit's given me this information, this wisdom, and it's my responsibility to pass it on. So I've been fortunate to find a way to kind of chop up this class in smaller pieces. And it's out there on Mother House of the Goddess. And we're putting it into 4 segments. And the way it's taught is, this is how Spirit gave it to me to teach this class. The premise of this class is that you come in to take the class and you put yourself in a place of sacred space where you're going to learn. The first journey, and it's all spirit journey, shamanic journey, whatever you'd like to call it. The first journey takes you out to establish what I call your sacred circle or your etheric altar. And you journey and walk down a path, which is your path of initiation. You walk down a path and you come to a place etherically that is either your circle or it's an etheric altar. Because basically we're all on the altar of the earth. And what I found was that pretty much everybody kind of experienced the same way I did, which was, for me, when I was taken there, it was kind of like walking down this path, coming into a clearing, and there was an empty medicine wheel there. It wasn't huge or ancient. It was just a circle in the clearing. And I went in, walked around the circle, and then what I did was I would start facing a direction, calling it in, the gateway would open, I would vision that and write down what came to me. The next time I went back, all that was still in my circle. It was like when you set up an altar and you put things on your altar, you go away, you come back, they're still sitting there. And they're energy portals to bring in what those objects represent. So you go around your circle and you do this in all the directions. And by the time you're done, you're sitting in the circle and you're fully initiated into this circle, and you're initiated by Grandmother Spider into the center of all things. And now you have all of this help established. So no matter where you are in life, if you're having challenges or if you want to particularly pursue something, you know which direction to go to and call on and say, okay, I need help here. So you have guides, you have aspects, you have elements, you have visions, you have things that have come to you that are individual than what I may never see. And it's amazing. They come. You call them and they come. So that's what the class has been about. And the first 2 levels are up online right now. Level 1 is east, south, west, and north, the guardians. Level 2 is the same 4 directions, elements and aspects. And those are both up to take right now. Level 3 will be above and below and center. And then level 4 is the initiation with Grandmother Spider through all the directions, all the layers, and you become an initiate on this path.
So tell us a little bit more, for those that may not have the background you do, about Grandmother Spider and why she should be initiating us.
Grandmother Spider is said to sit at the center of all things. She weaves the great web of life. She weaves it all together. What I love about spiders is they have the most amazing intention. They're these small little creatures, and they create the strongest material we know of, spiderweb. I don't think, if I may be wrong, but I don't think science has recreated that yet. And it's incredibly strong. And it amazes me because a spider has an intention, and then somewhere deep in this gland in their body, this webbing comes out, shoots out, anchors to where they want it to. And that is their anchor point. From that, they build these amazing webs that we've all seen and we've all marveled at. And so as a guide, we say Grandmother Spider has woven the cosmos together. She is like a creator guardian who has helped to weave the world together. And Grandmother Spider is usually, she's around in a lot of different kinds of legends. She's out there. Egypt has Selket the Weaver. Native people have Grandmother Spider. And she's around, and there will be variations of her. But basically, she reaches out and creates the anchoring point on which to weave us all together. And each of us is in our own web. You have your web, I have mine. All of our webs are bumping into each other, creating all kinds of entanglements and problems. And Grandmother Spider teaches us how we can maintain our web. Good spiders do housekeeping. They roll up their webs and they take them apart and they build new ones when they become weak. And so she takes us through this weaving where we become connected to all the directions. So you've been connected to east, west, north, south. Now all the directions are connected together so that wherever you go, you're walking in this great web and you are always connected to all the directions. And all you need to do is turn to the one that you need to call on. And it's right there.
So what if I've done this work before? I've never had anything to do with Native American tradition. I come out of a quasi-Christian, non-spiritual background, and I come across your course. Mm-hmm. Am I going to be comfortable with it?
The feedback I'm getting from my students, it would tell me yes. They're saying things like, I've been to circles and I heard the directions being called in, but it really didn't mean anything to me. And it wasn't personal. I didn't know what it was. Now I understand what that's about. I never had met this particular guide or that particular guide, and I didn't know that I wanted to meet that guide. But when I did, it was very loving, and I was so surprised. And I'm learning from them. So will you be comfortable? I think it's like if someone said to me, come on and take a course in speed racing. We're going to take you down to the Indy 500 and teach you how to drive one of those cars. Yeah, I might be able to learn to do it. I'm not going to be comfortable because I don't like that. So if you're not interested in this material, maybe you wouldn't like it. But if you have any interest at all, this information is given to me by Spirit. I did not make it up. And so I believe that it is a way for people who want to get on the path. That's why I call it spiritual directions, a path to initiation, a path of initiation. If you want to learn how to walk that path and have it incorporated in your life, it's an initiation process. So,
well, one of the things I have always been impressed by is your ability to call in the directions. I have heard you at many different events and many different classes where you have been the person in charge of that. And I know that what you do is different from what other people do. I've never seen anyone else who does it like you do. I presume that over the years, you have originated much of what you do. And I know that, there's some similarities to what Nicki Scully does, but I'm not sure who learned from who there. And
I haven't taught Nikki anything, so.
Yeah, well, hopefully you taught her something.
But not, we've taught each other many things, but not about that.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do was I wanted you to basically go through the process of calling in the directions. And while we're in that space of having the directions open, I would really appreciate it if you would offer a prayer for the water.
Of course I will.
So that we can help heal the waters, whether there's too much or too little.
Yes.
Because both of them are not a good idea.
Right.
I just saw something where up in upstate New York, they're about to have like major severe weather drop down on them. And, we're sitting here, our idea of major severe weather is we're not getting rain, and we're not going to get any more rain until probably November or December.
Right. And Texas has just had hideous flooding, terrible loss of life.
Mm-hmm. So
drought here too. So
what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it over to you and have you call in the directions. And folks, if this is your first time of seeing this show, this is different. Raven is normally our co-host, and she helps me anchor down this program so that we can be here for you. But I wanted to give Raven an opportunity for you to see who she really is, because her skills, her training are so incredible. And, I think that a lot of people think she's just another pretty face. So.
Okay. Well, before we start, I would just like to say one thing. I'm happy to do a prayer for a water. What I normally do is just call in the directions and thank them and honor them. Okay. After that is when I do my prayers and start asking for things. So we will do an honoring for the water.
All right.
And to me, that's important. It's like, I don't call you up and the first thing I say is, oh, hi, Gloria, it's me. I need you to do this for me.
Oh, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to explain. Mm-hmm. So we want to have a relationship with these guides, and we recognize them as our teachers. We honor them. We call them in. And then, yes, they want us to ask them for help. They want to help us. But it's my feeling, and people may disagree with me, that if I'm in ceremony and I'm doing this, and I really kind of like to do it myself, because when a lot of people get involved in it, they get all kinds of different ways, which is fine. There are lots of ways, but I like to keep it consistent. So I'm kind of picky about that. So I will call in the guides and honor them, and then we can do an honoring for the water for sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you go with it.
Okay. So what we would normally do is, if you are 1 or 2 or 50, is and you may be in a circle, you may just be in a group, is we stand. And I'm not going to stand and try and do that from this point. And Gloria and I talked about that, and we decided that was probably okay. I'm going to sit down. Normally you would stand up, and people do this different ways. We will start, for the convenience of consistency, we'll start with the east. As the sun rises in the east, that's the start of the day. Now, you might have a rattle, you might have a drum, you might call out with your voice, but you would stand, face the east with your hands up, facing the east, showing them, come, here I am. Here I am, I'm calling to you. Please see me. And then you would make some noise, and you hail them and you honor them. So if you think about the qualities of the directions, they're going to be different in places where you live. So for instance, west for me is the river, and west is water. But people who live on the other side of the river, west is not the water for them immediately. It's eventually the ocean. So eventually we get to the west coast. Eventually we get to the east coast. And you can modify this based on where you live and what you see. So if you're in the east and the first thing that you see every day is the water, that's fine, but water lives in the west. So there are some basic rules here that we need to follow. And so the east is the place of sunrise, it's the return of the light, and it's springtime. This is just an example. Hail to the powers of the east. We honor and bless you. We thank you for this place of the return of the light, light out of darkness, for the new day, for the sun rising up to illuminate us on our way as we wake and begin a new day. We give thanks to this place of being able to see clearly again. We give thanks for our visions that are illuminated by the sun coming up. We give thanks for the springtime, for the return of the green and the beautiful leaves that come out again in the springtime, for the flowers that rise up out of the snow sometimes, that return of color after a dark, dormant winter. We give thanks to the winged ones, for those birds that wake us up with their songs in the morning. And we especially honor Eagle, great guardian of the East. We honor you, Eagle, for your clear vision, for your ability to see what you want and go for it. That precision ability to see far away, dive out of the sky, swoop into the water, grab a fish, and take it up into the sky again. We thank you for this place of perspective. So when we rise up as the eagles do, we see things with the big picture. We see things from that eagle eye view. We give thanks to this place for the air, for the gentle, warm breezes that bring the beautiful smells of spring to us. We thank you for our songs, our voices, and for our eternal becoming. We honor you, blessed ones of the East. Come and be with us. There is a place for you here. And then we turn and we face the south. And in the south, I'll just look in the camera. Hail to the powers of the south. We honor this place of the divine fire, of the heat of the summer, this place where we rush into life to experience all that is happening without wisdom, but with much passion and enthusiasm. And we run into all kinds of people who we learn things from, how we mirror one another with these experiences. And so we honor you, Coyote, guardian of the South, who knocks us down flat on our faces so that we have to look at what's in front of us, at the lesson we are heedless of that we need to learn before we can become wise. We also, in this place of acute focus, find Little Mouse, who is gathering things on the ground and paying attention to what is right in front of us. We also honor the beautiful Swan, who reminds us that we can reflect beauty to one another and we can reflect grace to one another in this place of the South that is often full of chaos. We give thanks for the summers, for the heat and the passion that takes us through life. We give thanks for the midday, for the strong sun that shines on us and takes away our shadows so that we are vulnerable, so that we are forced to stand exposed and learn our lessons. We give thanks to all of those who live in the South, who romp and run and play. We give thanks to the creatures who dance around, running around the bonfires at night, drumming, dancing, and celebrating life. We honor and bless you, great ones of the South. Come and be with us. There is a place for you here. We all turn and face the West. Hail to you, great ones of the West, the place of the waters. We honor you for the water in all of its forms, oceans, rivers, streams, mist, and fog. We thank you for this place of the fall, when we are between the day, the light, and the dark. The days become shorter. The leaves drop away from the trees, and we start to look at what we need to let go of. In the West, we honor the place of the lessons we experienced in the South, and we digest them and think about them, and we dream with them. And we honor you, Grandmother Bear, who protects us as we shift between the worlds, and we can drift out into the dream world, into the spirit world, where we learn what we have experienced, and we decide and know what to let go of and what to carry with us. We honor the West for that place of the harvest, of bringing in the food, of sorting out what we can keep and what we must eat now, and what is no longer good and must be put into the compost for recycling. We give thanks to Raven, who flies between the worlds, who brings magic. And we give thanks to Grandmother Bear for teaching us to hibernate, to slow down, and to dream. We give thanks to this place between the day and the night, between the light and the dark, where we walk in the shadows, and we have to learn to stop and feel our way around, and we become comfortable with the shadows, weaving in and out of them. We honor all of the animals who live in the waters, the dolphins, the whales, the starfish, the little fairy shrimp who live in the pools on the mountains. We thank you for the plankton and all creatures of the water. We honor and bless you. We especially honor the water tonight for the life-giving force you bring us all, for every blessed drop that falls from the clouds, is drawn by the trees, and is spread about the world. And then the trees suck it back up, send it back up through their leaves, and release it back to the sky in a great cycle of giving back. We thank you. Some places have too much water, some places have not enough water, but no matter where we are, we honor and bless you, water. Thank you, water, for your gift of life. We see you clean and restored. Thank you, water. We love you. Thank you, water. We bless you. And then we face the north. Hail to the powers of the north, this place of winter, of darkness, of surrender, this place of the giveaway of life and the giveaway of death. We honor you, buffalo, for your abundance. Millions of you were running across the plains in the greatest display of abundance, and you gave all you are so the people could live. We thank you for this giveaway, for reminding us that life is a giveaway to us, a giveaway of resources, of clothing, of food, and of wisdom. And in this place of the north, we honor our teachers for all the traditions and all the teachings that they have passed on to us. We honor our ancestors, the grandmothers, the grandfathers from long ago, who have passed their information and their lore down through generation and generation. We thank our families who have gone before us, and for the DNA in our bodies that carries that wisdom within us. We thank you for our bones, for our bodies, for this place where we connect with the earth. We thank you for the mountains, the prairies, the valleys, the forests, the great trees, and all the animals who walk upon the earth, four-legged, two-legged, no-legged. We thank you for this great family of life that lives together in the north, in harmony, in abundance, in wisdom. We honor this place of the north, where we take our insights of the east, our enthusiastic experiences of the south, our dreams of the west, and we walk into the north, where we learn wisdom. We honor and bless you and ask you to be with us. Come here, there is a place for you here. We reach up to the sky. Beloved ones above, we honor and bless you. Great Father Sky above us, we thank you for this vast expanse of beauty where all things come into us in our experience. The clouds, the weather, the air, all of these things swirling about above us. And we thank you for the moon, for the planets, and for all the stars, for the great starry body of our beautiful goddess Nut. We thank you for angels, for archangels, for all ascended masters, all bodhisattvas who hold us in the place of cosmic law and cosmic truth, and hold us and align us so that we may lift up to you and walk in that place of truth. And we thank you for giving us the cosmic truth and ask you to continue to hold it for us so that we may aspire to lift up and learn to walk in this place of divine harmony. Come and be with us. There is a place for you here. Now we would kneel on the floor or reach down as you are able and put your palms on the ground. Hail to the powers below, to our great Mother Earth, to Gaia. We thank you for this beautiful planet you've given us to live on, that we walk upon you every day, and that you give of yourself constantly to all of us, all your children, so that we might learn here, experience here, grow here, and become masters here. We thank you for all you give us. We thank you for the elementals and the nature spirits and the divas. We thank you for the stone people and the crystal stone people. We thank you to the worm people who live beneath the ground and the great mushroom clan who spread their wisdom along with the tree roots all across the ground below us, creating vast networks of wisdom and knowledge. We thank you for those who make the permaculture happen, to all the bugs and worms and unseen ones who take the dead leaves, the dead bodies, all the things that have been cast aside, and turn it into rich, new, renewed growth that rises back up to us. We thank you for this place below, where the caverns of water accumulate and purify the great waters that seep into the earth, all the great aquifers that are below. We thank you for this dark place, this dark, rich place of renewal. And as above, we honor you for holding us in cosmic truth, and we bless you. Come and be with us. There is a place for you here. We stand, everyone faces the center. Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit, Great Mystery, all that is. We honor this place of the center where we are all one, connected to you, Great Spirit, one heart, one love, and many, many people. We honor this place of beauty, and we honor Grandmother Spider for weaving us all together in the great web of life. We give thanks to all our relatives. Ahom Itakwiyas.
Oh.
Oh. And from this place, you can do ceremony. From this place, you can walk out your door. From this place, you can do anything, because they're with you. And as I call in the directions, doorways open. And they're here. When you call in the directions, the doorways open. They come. And it is a matter of learning who and what and how comes through the doors. It's very simple. If I walk through your door, I have a really good idea of what I'm going to expect. If I walk in my niece's door, it's a whole nother experience. If I walk in a stranger's door, I don't know what's going to happen.
So would you leave these doors open, or would you close them?
I would close them if you're doing ceremony. At the end of the ceremony, you start in the opposite direction with the north. You thank the north, and you bless it and release it. Very simple. Thank you, great ones of the north, for being with us. We thank you for giving us protection while we're in this ceremony. We honor and bless you. West, south, east, above, below, and center. What you're doing is you're releasing the immediate attention. And they're always with us. They're always with us. But when we call on them, they can do more. Now, some people, for instance, when we would go down to Nicki's, we'd call in the directions on Friday night and would close them on Sunday. We'd leave that open all weekend because we did ceremony all weekend. You can call them in as you drive to work. And when you get to work, you can say, thank you, I really appreciate it, and then you got to go to work. It doesn't have to always be huge and formal. You might be having an issue with the South and call on one of the guardians of the South and say, come and help me. I need your help. Please get in here and give me a hand. And then say thank you. After the situation is handled or whatever happens, you always remember to thank them. Because just like our friends, if all they do is call on us and dump on us and expect us to listen and help them, and they never tell us thank you, after a while, we're not quite so anxious to answer the phone when they call. We have to be in relationship. I took a class once from Sandra Ingerman, who is a fine, fine priestess of great integrity. And she said, you know, sometimes you just need to take your guides on a picnic and just hang out with them and get to know them and not always have to be doing something with them. Just go hang out with them, go on a picnic with them. And I thought that was one of the wisest things I ever heard any teacher say.
Well, she's a very wise teacher. So,
yes, she is.
I do believe that to be true.
Yes.
So, and thank you so much. And I really appreciate it because, you know, I hear a lot of people who are calling in the directions, and sometimes I want to stop them and correct them in the middle. And I learned not to do that.
No, we don't do that. So there are basic things, and you have different traditions. Now, when I call in the directions, when I'm doing ceremony for myself, I also call in the whole Egyptian pantheon because I work with them. But I'm not going to do that in most places unless there's some kind of people understand that, or unless that portal opens and I see Sekhmet going, hello, what about me? Then I'm going to call her in. But and there are many traditions. There are Hindu traditions. There's limitless traditions. And so the point is to get familiar with how you relate to these directions. Some people are going to call in Jesus. Some people are going to call in Buddha. Some people are going to call in specific guides that they know and have worked with. And that's why it's like creating an altar. Because an altar holds the directions. And when you create an altar, and so I open the north and go, call in the north, and I go, all right, I'm putting this statue of the buffalo on my north altar. And I'm putting this petrified wood on my north altar. And I'm putting this beautiful object that belonged to a great-grandmother on my north altar. That is anchoring the energy of buffalo, of this petrified wood, of the grandmothers. And that keeps anchoring it in. It's like a magnet. It pulls it in. So you need to refresh your altars once in a while. And I have this altar room that everybody kind of laughs at me like, oh, really? You know, my altar room is a bedroom and it's all altars. But everything on those altars means something to me. When I take it apart and clean it periodically, if I don't remember what it is or it doesn't mean anything to me, I take it down. But they're specific to directions more than anything. So I don't usually have a personal altar for like looking for a new job or, you know, selling my house. If I want one, I will build one. But those altars are pretty permanent. But your altar is a doorway. And if you aren't keeping track of who's coming in and out of your doorway, you might be surprised, because it works both ways. You go out and they come in. So it's very important to be a priestess of these things and to maintain them with your attention, your intention, and your integrity. And then just hang out with them and learn from them, because it's a great blessing.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I have Barbara Lindsay here doing some work, and she's writing her book, and she's...
Hi, Barbara.
She's, as she's going through the processes and she's, you know, working through what she's going to be saying, in a way, it's like she's having to step into the space of the altar, because she herself is the altar. Yes. She is that altered space that she's offering to spirit.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things to remember is that we carry our altar with us. And some of us, it's quite literal. We wear it around our neck in jewelry, or we wear bracelets, or we, you know, work with the altar. Others of us, we carry it internally, and, you know, you can't see it. But I think it's important to remember that the calling in the directions is not necessarily only about external things. It's also about internal things.
It's very much internal, because there is really no, like I said, we're all the center of the world. We're at any given moment, we're in the center. We are the center. Mm-hmm. And we are all on this web. It's all internal and external at the same time. And we are Spirit's altar. So as we go to work, as we go to the grocery store, as we hang out with each other, whatever it is we do, we are that altar that Spirit comes through. And we are that portal that Spirit can come through and work through us. And we've all said that before. We've said it many times. You'll hear it in other traditions as well. It's not just me that made it up. You'll hear it all the time, because it's true. And the truth is the truth. We are the altar of Spirit. We are the doorway. Spirit comes through, animates us with this life so that we can do these things. And when we are connected with the directions, when we are aware of where we are in this web of life, then there is no separation. The west, the south, the north, the east, above, below, center, they're all alive within us. And it's up to us to find out what that means. So after we've called in the directions, then we do our ceremony, whatever that is, and then close the directions up. Probably go have some food with each other. What I do, I open the directions, and then that's when I pray. And I pray for what I want, for what I'm afraid of, for what I need, for what I don't know. We do our prayers. I do my prayers in that place. And then, boy.
So let's talk one other space. I mean, you do tarot readings.
Yes, I do.
Do you call in the directions before you do?
I don't call in the directions, but I call in my guides who are known to me. My guides came to me and introduced themselves to me as the Great Council of Tarot. Mm-hmm. And I saw them, and I was a little dismayed one time to learn that a woman I read for was starting to call them in. Mm-hmm. Like, well, they're my guides. I guess if they went and saw you, I guess they're your guides too. but I call them in when I do a reading, and I call in the guides of whoever I'm reading for. And I say, usually what I say is something like, I call in your guides, whether that you know them or not, but who are here today for your highest purpose, to give you clarity and direction and information, and to help you in the best way possible. I call in my teacher Thoth. And then, so I'm not actually calling in the directions, but I'm calling in a very specific portal. And that's the place that I do readings from.
Okay.
When we're done, I thank them. Thank you, guides, for coming.
Well, I think it's always appropriate to thank anybody who shows up to help you, whether it's somebody who shows up to help you, change your tire, or somebody who shows up to change your life.
It's simple. It's basic. It's that basic exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I give to you, then I return and say thank you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate your doing this for us tonight, because I do think that you have an understanding of it that is far greater than most people who are involved with any of this spiritual work. And I laud you for that. And maybe next time we'll have you come on and do a tarot reading for us, so that people can get a sense for how you do tarot readings. Because truthfully, everybody, I tell you how wonderful Raven is, and I don't know if you believe me or not. You may think that I'm just being her girlfriend and saying how fabulous she is. Trust me on this one, folks. I ain't the only person that's saying it.
Thank you, Gloria.
Lots of people believe she's.
Tarot is my passion. I've done many things in this life, including a long career as professional healing work, which I honor and bless every bit of it. But I love the tarot. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I would look forward to having you do that for us on a future show. Of course, you will be with us on future shows as the co-host.
I'm always down in the corner down here.
Yeah, including next week with Karen Tate, who is a radio host and has been doing spiritual work for many, many years. I'm really looking forward to interviewing her. Regretfully, you're not going to be with us this coming Saturday, whenever we're going to be interviewing Kathy Jones from Glastonbury, England, who is the Goddess Conference creator, producer, mother. I don't know what all she does. I know that she does a lot. And she also has a retreat center in Glastonbury. And I'm looking forward to interviewing her.
Yeah, I'm sorry to miss that one, but we make our commitments and keep our commitments.
I agree, and I understand totally. And but Reese has said beautiful presentation, Raven, and Reese is going to be on next month, so you'll get to meet her as well.
Reese.
And we do these things not so much for our own self or our own self-grandizement. This is not about ego. I mean, this show is not about ego. It's not about how great I am or how great Raven is or how great any of these guests are. We do this because we believe that we are providing you with information and wisdom and knowledge that, frankly, you can't get anywhere else.
This wisdom that we're presenting through this show has changed our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of these women who's been on will say, thank God, Goddess, whatever, for this information, because it changed my life. It saved my life. It gave me purpose. It enabled me to be who I am in a powerful and good way. Do we all make mistakes? Do we all screw up? You bet. But this information changed things. And it's the same information that can help anyone. It's not proprietary.
Yeah, so I really appreciate those who come and listen to us live. I also appreciate you who listen to us on the replays on YouTube and make your comments. And I look forward to hearing from you and hearing questions from you. I did just post the information on Kathy Jones's event this coming Saturday. I've also posted the links to both the Mother House of the Goddess and to Raven's class, the first part of it. Yes. And I'll put those in the YouTube links as well. And I really want to thank you. And I want to thank Ann Key, who is the producer, publisher of Stepping Into Ourselves, because it was her book that actually started this whole thing. And I recommend that...
because I'll be with Ann on Saturday that I can't be with you. Sorry.
She loves Ann better than she loves me.
Just closer. And my website is Kathryn, that's Kathryn, Ravenwood.com. And I don't know that I have all the links up yet there, but you can always contact me and I can tell you how to get them.
All right. And in addition, Raven is available for tarot readings. And I highly recommend that you get a reading from her. Once every 3 months at least. In fact, I think I'm overdue. But so anyway, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We send you forth with blessings. We send you forth with spirit. We know that you are wonderful people doing wonderful work, and thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you, Raven, for being our guest.
Blessings to all of you. Thank you. We love you.
Good night. We look forward to seeing you this Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, Kathy Jones, or next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time with Karen Tate. See you then. Bye.